what's up? Hello, my name is Emma, and in honor of this year's Pride Month, I'm going to be giving you guys some underrated LGBTQIAP+ book recommendations. Last year, I made a recommendations video focusing on books featuring characters from the LGBTQ+ community, and I love that video so much. I'm so happy that so many of you love it as well. So if you want to check out last year's recommendations, I will leave that video linked below. Now, while every book in that video I feel has a ton of value and is very important, I feel like a lot of them were the very hyped up books that almost anyone knows about. So today I wanted to take some time to recommend some books featuring diverse characters that I feel don't get as much hype in the community. Additionally, as Pride Month is not just about celebrating LGBTQ+ literature, it's about celebrating real people. I really wanted to take the opportunity to recommend some of you guys to some of my favorite booktubers who identify as a part of the LGBTQIAP+ community. So I have linked a bunch of channels down below, and if you're looking for more recommendations similar to this video, these people recommend them all the time, and I would definitely suggest you check out their channels. So the first book in this list of recommendations is Paperweight by Meg Haston. Paperweight follows a girl named Stevie who at the start of the novel is admitted to a 60-day eating disorder treatment center for her bulimia. As if starting eating disorder treatment is not difficult enough, the anniversary of Stevie's brother's death is coming up, and she believes she carries the weight of his death. She believes it's her fault, so she is convinced that on his anniversary she will end her own life as well. I picked up Paperweight many years ago as it follows a main character with an eating disorder, and most of you may know I've been in treatment for an eating disorder for the past 6 years. I love the eating disorder representation in this novel. It was one of the first experiences where I really felt seen in literature, and that was a really amazing experience. As a warning, I do feel this novel is quite triggering, so just be conscious of your own mental health going into it. But because I read it so long ago, I completely forgot that the main character is interested in girls. Maybe a year after I finished this book, I received a comment that discussed how Stevie did have a girlfriend for some of the flashbacks of this novel, and I was just like, I really can't believe I forgot that integral part of this story. I did read this book before I was really invested in literature featuring main characters from the LGBTQ+ community, so that's probably the reason why it slipped my mind for so long. But Stevie is interested in girls. She doesn't use a specific label to describe her identity, but if you are somebody specifically looking for more books featuring people with mental health issues who are also a part of the LGBTQ+ community, I would definitely recommend Paperweight. The next book on my recommendations list is The Nowhere Girls by Amy Reed. This was one of my favorite reads of 2017, and I just want to recommend it to absolutely everyone. The Nowhere Girls follows 3 teens, Grace, Rosina, and Erin. Grace is a plus-size Christian who moves to a new town and inevitably finds out that the former occupant of her home and one of the girls that used to go to her new school had accused some of the popular guys at school of gang rape before moving away due to all of the ridicule and abuse she faced. Rosina comes from a Mexican immigrant family who has dreams of being a rock star instead of helping out at home with her family's restaurant. And finally, we have Erin, who has Asperger's and anxiety and is dealing with some interpersonal issues at the moment. And so Grace, Rosina, and Erin form an anonymous group called the Nowhere Girls, where they can convene with their other classmates in order to discuss feminism, sexism, and inevitably bring justice to girls like Lucy, who have been raped, and other women who have been a victim of various sexual violence. The Nowhere Girls is a really intense contemporary novel that deals with so many difficult topics in the most beautiful way. As I said before, there is definitely a trigger warning necessary for rape and other forms of sexual assault in this novel, but it truly is so amazing, and I feel absolutely everyone should read it. As this is an LGBTQ+ recommendations video, Rosina herself identifies as gay, and she is interested in this cute-ass cheerleader from school, and it is just a really cute, fluffy romance in the midst of all of this intensity and emotionalness happening throughout the story, and it's just really amazing. If you're someone like me who loves serious issue contemporaries, The Nowhere Girls is at the top of my list. The next book on this list is another emotionally jarring novel. As you can tell, it's sort of my brand here, and that is The Last to Let Go by Amber Smith. This story follows a girl named Brooke who comes home one day to find out that her mother has murdered her abusive father and is now facing jail time for his death. So it is a really moving novel about what happens to children of spousal abuse, what happens when they are left to fend for themselves, and all of the difficulties that come along with it. And it was just so freaking amazing. Among all of the turmoil in Brooke's life along this story, she is also coming to terms with the fact that she is a lesbian and begins dating this really cool, edgy other lesbian at school, and it is just, their relationship is so wonderful. I love them so much. And oh my god, Danny, like, you know how every school sort of has that like cool, edgy lesbian? Like, that's Danny in this novel, and I just love her and Brooke together so much. They have a really wonderful relationship despite all of the stress placed on Brooke with her living situation and family situations at the moment. And it's just such a well-rounded novel about what it is like to be a teenager, what it is like to officially come out and accept yourself, and it's just really, really wonderful, and I would totally recommend this one. The next book on this list is a recent read of mine, and that is Anger is a Gift by Mark Oshiro. Anger is a Gift follows a Black teen named Moss who is not only dealing with panic attacks and anxiety and still dealing with the weight of his father's unjust death, but he's also running into a lot of issues at school as there is a new police presence installed on campus. Not only do Moss and his friends suffer unfair treatment from the officers at his school, but when metal detectors are also installed at every entrance, it starts to feel like their school is more like a prison and the students are being treated more like criminals. So Anger is a Gift is just this really empowering novel about validating the anger of marginalized teens and inspiring them to use that angle to fuel change. Additionally, I really want to stress an intense trigger warning for racism, violence, and police brutality. There have been a lot of reviews that are like, this book could almost be dystopian. And it's a shame because it's not a dystopian, and these are things that really do happen in our world, and I feel like readers need to just be aware of that going into this novel. I really loved Anger is a Gift. The plot sucked me in. I really enjoyed Mark Oshiro's writing style, but one of the things I love the most about this book is there is literally so much diversity, I could not even name all of it for you. I really tried to keep a note on my phone of all of the different identities being represented in this story, but I could not do it because it was just so many, and honestly, I'm not mad about it. I feel like we need more books out there that deal with so many various different backgrounds and sexualities and genders, that we need more books like this out in the world. Additionally, Anger is a Gift is written by a gay Latinx author, so yay for Own Voices books. As I said, Moss is Black and gay. His best friend is Puerto Rican. Throughout the story, Moss enters a relationship with an undocumented Venezuelan boy. There are trans characters and non-binary characters and biromantic characters and asexual being characters. There are Latinx characters and Black characters and disabled characters, and it is just overflowing with real life diversity, and I really appreciated that. Anger is a Gift is just a really wonderful, striking, spectacular novel, and I would highly recommend it. The next book on this list is another recent read of mine, but it has quickly become one of my favorites of the year, and that is Girl Made of Stars by Ashley Herring Blake. Girl Made of Stars follows a girl named Mara whose life is turned upside down when she finds out that her twin brother is accused of raping one of her best friends. Don't tell me just that doesn't want to make you read this book. Mara is thrown into a whirlwind of chaos, trying to decide where do her loyalties lie. Should she believe her friend? Should she believe her brother? And to add to that, Mara is also dealing with some more conflicting feelings about her ex-girlfriend who has recently become her best friend again after they have broken up. And so she struggles a lot with the awkwardness of the situation while also dealing with some lingering feelings of Charlie. It's all around amazing. I cannot recommend this book to you enough. Mara is bisexual and the author is bisexual, so it is an Own Voices novel, and although I obviously can't speak for any of the rep in this video, How to Make a Wish was also highly praised for its bisexual rep, and I believe the same has been said about Girl Made of Stars. Additionally, Charlie, Mara's ex-girlfriend and best friend, is genderqueer. Throughout the novel, she becomes to be more comfortable using the term non-binary, and there is totally not enough non-binary representation in YA literature, so I was super hyped to see that in this book. Ashley Herring Blake is just a really phenomenal author. I don't know how she does it. She's extremely talented in terms of writing and characterization and plot. This novel is just full of emotional, hard-hitting scenes, but that does not overshadow the very cute and heartwarming moments that do exist in it, and I love it so much. I will be recommending this book forever, so prepare your ears because I'm not ready to shut up about it. As you may have noticed, all of the books I've shown thus far in this video are contemporary young adult novels, and I feel it's really fair to say that the majority of books featuring LGBTQ+ main characters do come from contemporary novels. So I do want to recommend two really awesome fantasy novels, both from an author I adore, that do have a very diverse set of characters. The first is Daughter of the Burning City by Amanda Foody. Our main character's name is Serena, and she lives in the traveling city of Gomorrah, which is a festival full of mischief and magic. Serena's magic gives her the ability to create illusion, which are people who feel real and seem real, who can talk and interact with you and have their own personalities, and Serena regards them as her real family, but she's always known that they are not real and they are just a part of her imagination. At least she believed that until somebody at the Festival of Burning Desires is killing off her illusions one by one. So Serena has to team up with a boy named Luca, who is new to Gomorrah, in order to find out who is killing her illusions, why they're doing it, and how it is even possible. I love Daughter of the Burning City so much. It has this really wonderful atmospheric magic system. The mystery of the novel is so gripping and will keep you on the edge of your seat. But it's also really awesome because this book does follow a very diverse cast of characters. Serena is bisexual, one of her sisters / illusions is a lesbian, and our love interest Luca is on the ace spectrum. I've heard quite a bit of discussion over Luca's exact identity because this is not a novel that uses specific labels, but I've heard him being referred to as demisexual, I've heard him referred to as demiromantic asexual. Additionally, Daughter of the Burning City takes place in a fantasy world without homophobia. Like, hello, yes, these are the fantasy books I like to read. But Amanda Foody herself is also on the ace spectrum, so it is also really important to not only support characters who are part of the LGBTQ+ community, but also the writers. Daughter of the Burning City is fabulous. If you are looking for more circusy, carnival-esque books, I would totally recommend this one. And then I am also quite in love with Amanda Foody's newest release, which is Ace of Shades. Ace of Shades follows a girl named N. Salta who has to travel to the city of New Rains, otherwise known as the City of Sin, as her mother has gone missing. N's only lead is a boy named Levi, who turns out to be one of the crime lords of New Rains, and he has no interest in helping her as he's involved in his own Ponzi scheme at the moment, which is going really badly. So in order to get help to find her mother, N offers Levi the one thing he needs at the moment: money. So the two of them set out to traverse the City of New Rains to find clues as to what has happened to N's mother. But along the way, some of Levi's enemies catch up to him and force him into this sort of execution game where the players bet their lives and you always lose, so N has to enter to save him. I actually did a spoiler-free review of Ace of Shades on my channel. If you want to hear more about this book specifically, I will link that down below. But Ace of Shades is just another one of my favorites of this year. I loved this book so much. On theme for Amanda Foody, it does have another very unique and individual magic system that I was really enchanted by. It has this wonderful mystery and such great character development, and I am just so obsessed with Amanda Foody's books. I will literally read anything she writes. In this story, Levi is black and bisexual, and also N's mother is described as being gender fluid. Both of Amanda Foody's books are really wonderful, and I honestly feel like her #1 hype woman because I am just so obsessed with her as an author, and I would 100% recommend her books, especially if you were looking for more diverse fantasy novels. But for now, we are moving back to contemporary with Little in Lian by Brandy Colbert. Little in Lian follows a girl named Suzette who is black, Jewish, and bisexual. Suzette is returning home to Los Angeles after being forced to spend a year at boarding school right after finding out that her brother was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Suzette is trying to settle into her old life. She's trying to reform a connection with her brother, but she also ends up falling for a new girl at her summer job who happens to be the same girl that her brother is falling for himself. Throughout the story, Suzette's brother Lionel's mental health appears to spiral out of control, and it really falls on the shoulder of Suzette's to realize what to do with it and what is her responsibility in this situation. In addition to Suzette being bisexual, the girl she's falling for, named Rafaela, is pansexual, and there are a variety of different side characters throughout the story who are a part of the LGBTQ+ community and also are people of color. Little in Lian is just another, like, I feel like my word of this video is emotionally jarring because because Suzette and Lionel are put in so many difficult situations throughout the story that your heart just can't help but clench. It's a really moving story. I feel it perfectly describes what it is like to be a woman with various identities that all intersect, but also to be a person who has a loved one who is also dealing with a serious mental illness. And it is just a really wonderful, well-rounded novel that I feel like not enough people talk about, and I would totally recommend it. The next book in this video was actually recommended by one of the booktubers in the description, and that is Kaylee Hyde, and she recommended Lily and Duncan by Giordano. Lily and Duncan is actually a middle grade novel, whoa, who am I, but it follows a trans girl named Lily and a bipolar boy named Duncan. Although Lily is confident that she is and has always been a girl, she is not out at school, and she's also struggling with her father, who seems to not accept her for who she really is. And Duncan is the new boy at school who is struggling to find his place while also keeping his diagnosis a secret from his peers. I absolutely fell in love with Lily and Duncan. This novel really took me by surprise. There's just so much rich discussion on things like gender identity and mental health, and it all comes across so beautifully and realistically. As someone who mostly reads LGBTQ+ books that are young adults, it was really fascinating to see this discussion from the perspective of a 13-year-old, because most of the trans characters, or all of the trans characters I really read about, are like 16 to 18, whereas Lily is 13, so there's a lot of discussion about the days leading up to puberty, about how hormone blockers are really crucial at this time, and eventual surgery and stuff, and so I found it really valuable. And additionally, Lily and Duncan is not a romance novel. I feel like a lot of the time the LGBTQ+ contemporary novels are all romance, and sometimes it's nice to just read about a character from the community who is just like a person independent of a love interest. So it was a really wonderful read, and I cannot recommend it enough. The next book on this recommendations list is another one I read a really long time ago, and that is The Blood Between Us by Zach Brewer. This is another book that I have a spoiler-free review on if you want to check it out in the description. This is another book that I do have a spoiler-free review on if you want to check it out. It's like very old, but I did really enjoy this book, and I would be so happy to see more people reading it. The Blood Between Us follows a boy named Adrian, and at the start of this story, it has been years since Adrian has interacted with his adoptive sister named Grace after their parents died in a lab accident. Years later, after no contact, Adrian and Grace are forced back together to attend the same boarding school where their parents were both teachers. As Grace has been attending the school while Adrian is away, he comes back to re-meet a lot of the people from his past, and it forms a lot of difficult feelings for him, but things definitely intensify when Adrian believes that Grace knows more about their parents' death than she originally let on, and there is an anonymous person who seems to be trying to reopen some of his old wounds. I had so much fun reading The Blood Between Us. I love Zach Brewer with all of my heart. Like, The Chronicles of Vladimir Todd was one of my favorite series in high school, and so reading a new contemporary sort of mystery-ish book from him was so much fun. Now, Adrian does not claim one specific label for his identity, but throughout the story he is involved in relationships with both boys and girls, and I just felt the representation in this novel came across very natural and accepting, and it was really wonderful. Zach Brewer is also a gay trans author, so, you know, again, Pride Month is not just about celebrating books with LGBT characters. We gotta celebrate the writers who are part of the community too. And Zach Brewer is fantastic. I would totally recommend all of his books, but specifically if you're looking for more books with characters who are a part of the community but don't have a specific label, I would definitely recommend The Blood Between Us. And the final book on my list of LGBTQIAP+ recommendations is Let's Talk About Love by Claire Can. This book follows a girl named Alice who is Black, biromantic, and asexual, and unfortunately starts off her summer with her girlfriend breaking up with her. At this point, Alice has sworn off dating after having multiple partners that just didn't understand what it means for her to be asexual, but things get a little bit more complicated after a new worker named Takumi seems to bring up some unwanted feelings of attraction within her. So it's really just a story of Alice's summer, the issues she encounters with her friends, with her identity, with her family, but also some of the great moments by having a new friend in her life, one that she might like as more than friends, and it was a very enjoyable read. If I'm gonna be honest in here, this is probably my least favorite book out of all of the ones I've recommended thus far, just because the writing style for this book really did not work for me. I felt it was very amateur, and like that aspect I did not enjoy at all. But on the flip side, I felt there was so much great discussion in this story that makes me feel it is a really, really valuable read. I don't know if the author herself is on the A spectrum, but there are just some passages in this book that are so spot on that I feel like anyone who wants to read more books with asexual main characters like absolutely needs to read this. So while there are definitely things about this book that I did not really like, I was very pleased with the representation. As an additional note, because I didn't mention it before, Takumi is also Japanese, and there were just a lot of aspects of this story that I felt were really wonderful, and I think a lot of people would enjoy reading about. So that really concludes this video on underrated LGBTQIAP+ book recommendations. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had so much fun digging up some old books that I haven't talked about in years, but also reading a lot of books in preparation for this video, and I just really hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Definitely let me know in the comments below some of your favorite underrated books featuring LGBTQIAP+ main characters, or else writers from the LGBTQ+ community, because I am always looking for more recommendations. And again, do not forget to check out some of the booktubers in the description of this video, because I think you would really, really enjoy their channels. But that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon for a new video. Bye!
Yeah.